I've used and tested a ton of controllers over the past few years, and it's become a bit of a hobby of mine to collect and find some of the best controllers out there, at least for me. So when HexGaming reached out to me offering their Phantom controller, I was very interested to see what they have to offer here. The Phantom is a controller for PS5, PC, and mobile that takes an original DualSense controller and buffs it up a ton. This is one of the best controllers I've used so far, and made me really hop back into more competitive games with all the features it has. So this video will be my full review of the Phantom, discussing my thoughts after 1 month of heavy use. Huge thanks to HexGaming for sending me this controller over to review. Of course, all opinions are my own, and without further ado, let's get into it. So, opening the box, we get a super nice carrying case with the controller inside, some changeable thumbstick caps, a very sturdy charging cable, some joystick protectors, and 2 ribbon cables plus a tool that I'll mention again later. The controller in the hands feels great. The build quality is top notch, and since this is using the internals of an official DualSense controller, software wise it acts the same and is just as easy to use. The rubber grips on the back have a nice texture to them, they're not too soft, and they feel great. This was honestly one of my biggest gripes with the standard PS5 and even the Xbox Series controllers, the lack of rubberized grips. The controller also adds 4 back buttons with a micro switch click to them, and these honestly changed my opinion on back paddles. I've been using the GameSir G7 SC and Cyclone 2 Pro as my main controllers on PC before I received the Phantom, and I almost never use the extra buttons on them. After using these though, I honestly don't think I can play competitive FPS games without them. If you don't plan on using the back buttons here, it's best to just not have them mapped, because more than likely you're going to be touching them while holding the controller. It's pretty much part of the grip. While on the back buttons, you can map them by holding this button on the back of the controller for a few seconds till it starts flashing, then simultaneously hold the button and paddle you want to map till the light starts flashing red. Then hold the mapping button again for a few more seconds, and it should work fine. Here I am testing it with Gamepad Tester. I mapped the K3 button to the circle button. Personally, during my day-to-day use, I really only use the K2 and K4 back buttons. Now, my absolute favorite part of this controller are the triggers. There are 2 switches on the back right next to the mapping button that change the trigger input from analog to a micro switch or a hair trigger input. This honestly feels like cheating sometimes, but I think it's a great standard feature that more controllers should have. After using the Switch Pro controller for a long time, I've gotten used to digital triggers and even prefer them over analog, unless I'm playing GameCube games of course. These have a nice mouse click to them just like the paddles, and I've loved using them for games like Fortnite or some of the good Call of Duty games. The version of the controller that HexGaming sent me also has Hall effect joysticks, and you do have the option to pick between regular potentiometer sticks or Hall effect sticks if you plan on picking this controller up. Now, this is where this feature comes in. On top of the controller there's a flap you can lift up to find a ribbon cable insert, which is where the ribbon cable and tool that I mentioned earlier come in. This part of the controller is the calibration tool, and with it comes this little box, which is meant to calibrate the joysticks and fix any issues that you may have with them. So I can't really test this properly since the one I received was calibrated out of the box and I haven't had any issues yet. So on to some testing. I use the controller wirelessly for the most part, so I won't be discussing differences between wired and wireless. More often than not, wired will give you a slightly better input response time. I did however test it side by side with the original DualSense, and they are pretty much the exact same when it comes to input latency. The joysticks have an average percent error of 2 to 3.4%, which is well within a good range and lower than my original DualSense. Playing games with this controller feels great. I played a bit of Fortnite, yeah, this is a game I never thought I'd be playing on this channel, and used the micro switch triggers along with the back buttons and played much better than I normally do. I also played some Call of Duty on PC through Plutonium, and IW5 and T7 both work great. So these clients don't natively support PS5 controllers to my knowledge, so I use Steam input to make them work. Playing casual games is great too. Of course this controller is targeted towards high performance and more demanding games, but I did play some ROM hacks with it as well. Overall, the performance of this controller is excellent. I really don't have any complaints here. Now it's time to round out the review with the pros and cons of the Phantom. First, the pros. This controller has a premium feel, has Hall effect joysticks and a drift fix module for the potentiometer version to help fix any stick drift, 4 mappable back buttons, a switch from analog to hair triggers, interchangeable thumbstick caps, 6 interchangeable profiles for the back buttons, and a nice carrying case and very long charging cable. Now for some cons, this controller is very expensive, with the base model coming in at $230 and $250 for the Hall effect version. The premium edition, which has all the accessories I showcased in this video, will run you back $260 for the standard version and $280 for the Hall effect version. Of course there is almost always a discount available, but this is a premium price for a premium controller. and I can only really recommend it if you're in the market for a pro controller like this. Also, Hall effect sticks are becoming such a common feature of controllers nowadays, especially coming from companies like GameSir, and they tend to provide more decent pricing. So I think the $20 upcharge for the Hall effect sticks here is a bit too much in my opinion. Also, the battery life here is about average as well. I normally get around 8.5 hours of use from a full charge. It's slightly better than my original DualSense, but that also could be because I've had it for over a year now. And the battery's definitely aged a bit. So for this asking price, a bigger battery definitely would have been a nice feature. Anyway, those are my thoughts and review of the HexGaming Phantom. I absolutely love this controller, and I'm very grateful to HexGaming for sending me it to review. If you're more casual, then this is definitely a bit harder to recommend, and there are more budget options out there, but I would honestly recommend it if you're in the market for a premium PS5 controller. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to drop a like and subscribe, and join my Discord server linked in the description below. Also, if you want to pick up this controller yourself, the link is in the description, and feel free to use my code Falcon for a discount. I hope you all enjoyed this review, and see you all soon.